Well, hello, and welcome to Opal City Confidential, a Starman podcast, episode 35. God, what a crazy week. These things are always coming out on the weekend, right after I record them, which is cool. It's cool. I'm home. I went home early from work a little bit. I wasn't feeling good, but good enough to talk about Starman. So today's, you're going to get my take on Starman's 11 and 12 from Starman Volume 1, starring the amazing Will Payton by Roger Stern, Tom Lyle, and different inker, Smith and Campanella inking these two issues, and these are the June and July of 1989 issues. And the more I read of this series, the more I wish I had followed it before. Would Jack still be my favorite Starman? I don't know. Could Ted was my first, but he didn't become my favorite JSA'er until Jack. I started to like him more. And as I'm reading through his solo adventures and in chronological order with his All-Star comic things, I'm really starting to dig him, and I can't wait until we get into the later, the stuff done in the Silver and the Bronze Age, because he's fleshed out more. But I think I'm really digging Will Payton. I really am. Sean, I see why you love this guy. He is a great character. And again, I enjoy Roger Stern comics. He doesn't ever reinvent the wheel. Has he done his Marvels? Has he done his Kingdom Come? Has he done his things that like Wade or Busiek or Roy or Englehart do? His Avengers run, it's probably my top two. So, but I'm digging his Starman. Let's get started, though, because this is Starman 11 and 12. Let's go to the Grand Comic Book Database, because it has become the best tool in the world for enjoying these comics. Again, so issue 11, June of 1989 cover date. It was released on April 27th, 1989, edited by the amazing Robert Greenberger. It's never been reprinted. It's got a great Tom Lyle cover. It's got Will breaking out of this giant machine, and it says Starman bursts alive. And this is this is such a good issue, and that's a great cover. They're it's not a type of cover you'd see nowadays, and I think that is a shame. But it's a great. I've always liked Tom Lyle's art. I'm really liking it more and more as I read these comics. The title of the story is A Matter of Life and Death! ! It is a 22-page story. It is written by Roger Stern, penciled by Tom Lyle, inks by Bob Smith, colors by Michelle Wolfman, letters by Bob Pinaha. Main characters are Starman, which is Will Payton, and the Power Elite. Let me give you a little rundown on who is the Power Elite. They are led by Harold Melrose. We've seen from the beginning of the book. It was his experiments of power, the Power Elite: Dennis Blake, Frank Donovan, Stanley Hale, Olivia Hardy, Samantha Morgan, and David Winters. One of them meets a tragic fate. Also, the guest stars are Phil Easton, friend of Will's. I want to keep saying Jack. Will's. Glenn Warthen, the comp, and his wife Sylvia, who own the fitness store. We also get to see his amazing sister, Jane. So there's no synopsis in either this or Fandom, the DC Wiki, so I'm just going to kind of go through. It starts with, Starman is moving some very heavy fitness equipment into Sylvia's gym. Glenn Warthen is doing some of his physical therapy in a tank top, a sweat. Good God, man. Why are comic book fashions always about 10 years? I don't know. Yes, that's an 80s. Yeah, maybe 5 years. But he looks like he's in the Olivia Newton-John physical video. I'm going to post that. I pulled that image. I stopped when I read it on the app. Now I've got the beautiful mint comic. I bought a set of these, the whole run. And then I bought the Eclipso stuff at the end. And they're in immaculately good shape. But I'd love an Omni, DC. I'd love an Omni. Pop that in, and then you could do a Golden Age Omni. You'd get both archives in there, be a skinny one, and then do 2 Jack Omnis. Just do it. They would sell. They would sell like gangbusters. But we see, Will's there to get his friend's, you know, take on things. He's just going there to talk, and he's talking about how seriously injured he was, battling Blockbuster. Is he in over his head? And there's all this domestic stuff, the everyday stuff. You got Will talking to two friends while they're doing things. He's helping his friend do PT. He's telling them a story. His friend's wife is setting up the gym, and it's just a conversation between friends, a conversation that moves character along, doesn't interfere with the action that's coming, if anything complements it. It's just great. It's just a nice, great, I mean, it's maybe a little worried, but it's him talking, and he's just saying how much it's been. He gets zapped. He battles Bolt. Someone's sent to kill him. He battles the Power Elite. There's an alien invasion, and all this stuff. And then it's like, it's about time I start sorting things out. I still want to know how Power Elite knew where and when to attack me, and who they are, and why they attacked me. And that was issues 3 and 4. We're now 11 and 12. And then we cut to the Hutchins Institute, and you see the 6 members of Power Elite. They've been in a coma since the mega bomb went off in Invasion. And he's there, and he's dealing with a man named Clement, and Clement just wants answers. Why are we still doing this and stuff like that? Then we cut back to Starman. He is being a human flamethrower, helping Star Labs test a heat shield, and he actually turns the sand to glass. And then there's a guy there who's helping him out. He's Charles Francis. He's at a production. He's shaking his hand and thanking him, talking about making spare parts for satellite. But we find out that Francis is working for Hutchins because Clements is at the test. He's just hidden in a fireproof suit. We cut back to him hanging out with his buddy Phil Heaton, who's got a professional musician. And they're just, he's having a cup of coffee. He's talking about his sister Jane. Because they're old friends. Got these pictures of, and supposedly Eaton's a real person, and it's kind of cool. And he reads the newspaper and sees that last of the supervillains in the Atlanta Medical Center are taken away, and Starman goes to that hospital. He flies across the country to Atlanta, and he's told that they've been taken to the Hutchins Institute, and a Dr. Harold Melrose, which Starman puts 2 to 2 together. It's those creeps, man, the Hutchins Institute. So he flies there. He's greeted happily by Dr. Melrose, and there's a beautiful, like, orange and red and yellow tinted flashback of the first battle. And Hutchins convinces him it was alien involvement, and they're not trying to hurt him, and they want help. And it's a couple pages of them sparring verbally, and Melrose convinces Will to get into this machine to help save the unconscious Power Elite. He just wants to help him, but it's more than that. These things clamp on him. It's holding him in. This thing jabs into his head, and it wakes the Power Elite. And they all get out of the machine. They feel better, but they're getting out of the machine, and they can't get winners to come out of the machine, and he just stays in there, and the power keeps surging in him. And Melrose won't stop it, and it's just getting more, and Winters gets more and more. Then the machine explodes because Jack Payton's fighting it, and it explodes. Winters dies. Starman falls to the ground. The surviving Power Elites run in, and then they immediately go, "You blew him up, you and your frickin' power." It was David is dead, and I'm going to make you pay, and that is the cliffhanger. I liked it. It was well paced. It's really well drawn. I like the flashbacks of one of Will telling his story, not Jack, Will telling his story, and then the change of colors, because Melrose's flashback, which is on the other page, is in reds and pinks and purples. And I'm really starting to dig the yellow and purple costume. It really doesn't bug me. I would think for a change, just switch to yellow and purple every once in a while. But, and again, Tom Lyle, steady, fun, fun comic art, man. It's really good and good story. I think the action, because the next issue is an all-out battle, the final, and the end of this first round, I guess, or second round, with the Power Elite, and it's a great issue. All right, I'm going to go into it, telling you now, I loved it. But this one, Jack talking to his friends, the Power Elite stuff, all the machinations. It's like a well-paced TV hour drama of the time, which is not not the greatest of art form, but I like the story. I like what it's telling. I'm starting to see Will's personality more. It's really more and more fine-tuned every issue. He grows as a character as much as a comic character can grow. He has real friends that I believe are his friends that he can trust. Good supporting characters, man. I wasn't sure, because I'm just starting it. I didn't realize that the Worthams become regular recurring characters, and I'm happy. And I'm happy he's got his friend the musician. And we're going to see more of Jane in this next issue, which I'm always happy to see, because Jane is a character I care about a great deal just from the other Starman, and I want to see her what got her to where she had to go look up Jack. So let's move on to issue 12, which is cover dated July 1981. It has a great cover by Tom Lyle, and it's Starman battling the Power Elite, and it's a great cover. And now let's get some stuff from the Grand Comic Book Database. So, as I said, it's July cover date, 1989. It was published on June 1st, 1989. Again, editor Robert Greenberger. Another, as I said, Tom Lyle cover. Story is called The Blood of Heroes, exclamation point. It's a 22-pager, Roger Stern, Tom Lyle. Inks by Robert Campanella. Colors by Juliana Federer and Bob Pinaha. Letters, and again it is Will versus the Power Elite. So in this issue we have the Power Elite -1 and soon to be -2, because one of them passes. We get to see Jane, we get to see Carol Simon, we are introduced to Gina Greer, and there are a couple trivia notes on the fandom page that I thought was interesting. In the first panel of this issue, the narrator describes Dr. Melrose's motivation for creating the Power Elite. In this description, the narrator explains that Dr. Melrose grew up during the height of the Cold War, and that instilled the opposition to the USSR, called him to action when he heard the news article about a Russian hero appearing in America. The subheading lists the Russian hero as Red Star, a Titan's ally at the time and later member. Based on the time of this issue's release, the newspaper is likely referring to the events of New Teen Titans 48 and 49, which detailed Red Star's most recent visit to America and released almost a year prior to the release of this issue. And then a little subnote, in a strange twist of irony, Melrose's experiments to create metahumans had an unforeseen mishap that caused Will Payton to become Starman in the first place, meaning in some form the Red Star played a part in the making of the new Starman. I thought that was a good note, and I thought I would just read it because I thought it was a good note. But it does. This issue starts with backstory of Harold Melrose, why he did what he did, and how Will became Starman. And I like that it starts with that. And then the next page is 4 more panels getting us up to date to the death of David Winters. Again, it's 6 panels on the first page, 4 panels across each on the second page, and then the title page, Blood of Heroes, which has the Power Elite standing over the exhausted and depleted Will Payton. And then the battle begins. He gets tossed into a wall. I wish these guys had code names. I really do wish they had code names. But he's fighting it off. One guy shoots, and the one that shoots Energy Blast, which is Dennis. I think it's Dennis. But actually, Starman just takes all the beating, and then he punches the ground so hard it throws them off their feet. Clement is not responding to the guys in the control panel because they think Melrose is losing it, and Clement tells him to he wants everybody out of there because this is a disaster, and he blames Melrose. So, but the fight keeps going, man. The telekinetic guy, lifts Starman off the ground and bangs his head into a... Oh, no, that's Melrose. Hale is the guy that's carrying with telekinesis. But Melrose uses this, like, big, giant claw thing to crush, to grab Starman, but he zaps him, he zaps his power pretty hot, and it's so hot, it melts the crane and knocks, Hale out of the air, but he's not dead, and Starman tries to get out of here. All the time, Clement is watching from behind. Yeah, Starman goes through the wall, and then the giant woman goes. More chasing. But yeah, Starman's fleeing. There's some action there. Then we meet Cindy Greer. Oh, no, this is Carol. This is Carol Simons. This isn't. But she's setting up her business. We said a little bit about Jane's life, a little of the domestic, but this time it's Jane's turn. And then back to the fight, and the fight just keeps going through the thing. Clement's trying to get everybody out of there before it turns into a debacle. Starman and the Power Leader just beating the hell out of each other. And eventually one of them, Donovan, is, he's kind of fed up. He's going up to find Melrose, and it's been going wrong for a long time, Doc, and I think you're the reason why. I never agreed with anything you had us do. But when I went along with it because I thought you knew what you were doing. Not anymore. And he backs off, and then we cut back to the battle. Clement's still trying to get people out of there. The police are on their way. And Starman is battling Dennis. He's the guy that shoots the energy blast from his hand. And Sammy's the giant, super strong woman who's on the team. Well, he tries to blast Starman, misses, and this whole wall comes down on it and kills him. And she just is crushed by it. Sorry, that's a terrible pun because that's how he dies. He was crushed. And she runs off. Starman's chasing her. She busts through the wall. And there's a huge fire starting in the factory. The cops have showed up. Donovan, the power lead, he turns Melrose over to the cops. And then he heads back in. There's a giant explosion in the building. The building's gone, and it's just a crater. And then Starman comes out of it, and it cuts to the news. Gina Greer, the newswoman, she announces that Starman is destroyed. That Melrose has been arrested. Clement's seen watching Melrose get put in a police car. Starman brings up one of the bodies. And Clement ingratiates Elton with Starman by thanking him, and then we cut to Will and Jane watching it. And Jane's first word after Clement finishes complimenting Starman in the news, Jane goes, "You don't believe him. I wouldn't believe anything to come out of that institute. But Clement's got himself and his bosses covered. I could possibly tie Melrose to the elite mess, but he's the only one. That bothers me." And Jack, Will, just like that, it bothers me that Denny's was the only body recovered. I knew that we wouldn't find a body for winners, but there should have been something left of the others. When I went back for the body, the section of the upper level had crushed him, had been moved, not blasted apart by the explosion, lifted out aside. So he thinks that they were in there. Of course they were, because it's a comic book. You're coming back. Ooh, letter page. I turned the page, and there was a letters page. I like a lettered page. Let's see if there's anything interesting in this. Wow, okay. I'm going to read this one. Just the beginning of Dear Stargazers. All right. Whose bright idea was Issue 8? I can't believe you are attempting to make Lady Quark a villain like Buona Beast. Buona Beast wasn't a bad guy. He was a superhero. When I heard that she was going to be in Starman, I was really happy. I really missed her in Pariah. The last time I saw them was at the end of Crisis. I've always thought she and Pariah could be explored much, much more. I thought you were going to put her in the supporting cast. I'm begging you guys, don't mess her up, please. I like Jane a lot better than I did when I wrote you my first letter. Keep her in. And Carol, yes, yes, yes. I'm still waiting to see his father, but he turns out to be a villain, or could it be Dr. Melrose? And that is Indrajit Mukherjee. 50 Manor Way, North Harrow, Middlesex, England. And they answer back. Will's father is coming into the storyline soon, and no, he's not going to turn out to be the cliche, to be the cliche villain, or worse, Dr. Melrose. Trust us. Well, that's good to hear. Anybody famous in these letter pages? No. I like a good letter page. Coming attractions. At last, Will has a date. Wow. Okay, maybe that's not the most important part of the next issue, but I thought it was about time. On the other hand, Roger felt it was high time Starman fought another established DC villain, so he brings back the threat of Rampage after all. Kitty Faulkner has relocated to the Star Labs branch near Starman, see issue 7. Then again, Tom wanted a real challenge for Starman, so he added a special guest villain, one who got trounced not too long ago in another DC title. Start guessing, and we'll see who's right next month. Keep these comics coming, Robert Greenberger. See, just being an old coot, I love these old letter pages. I really like this. It's a good end to this first, completing this first arc that ties into his origin and the Power Elite and Melrose and Hutchings and all that. I think that's good. I think making it go 11 issues is good, and having other stories. I kind of like this. It's an era of comics I liked where you would have one and dones, you'd have arcs, but you could. It's just I'm liking the flow, and I think Roger Stern writes good arcs. I think he knows when to jump in and out of one plot line better than most, because they're short jumps. He's not, he really doesn't drag anything out more than 8 or 9 issues. Which is great, and it's a good story. I'm really enjoying the art. I'm starting to really feel, because I'm doing it only 2 issues every 2 weeks right now, and there's going to be a break. It's still like I'm reading a brand new, like they're coming off the rack, and that's really cool. And that's making reading these 10 times more enjoyable, because I don't know what's coming next. It's all new, it's all fresh, it's all brand new to me. And I think it's going to be great. I went through the issues. I pulled all the whole stack out so I can have them, because I really want to read them in the comic form. And I'm with thumbed ahead, and there's maybe some segues when there's the Red Kryptonite crossover with Superman. He's got a chapter in it, and he's also got a chapter in War Gods. So I may kind of do a condensed version do an episode where I read that entire event once I see it coming, and then refresh it, and then just talk about his part in it. So that may be what I do. But I'm looking forward to what's ahead. Next week, you get to hear me and David talk about 4 Starman stories. Well, really, 2 it's a Time Pass with Ted. It's Night with David. And then it's 2 a Shade Dr. Fate team up from Showcase 96. So it's a really good episode. We had a blast talking. It's going to be a pain in the ass to edit, and I can't wait to do it. All right, folks, as always, thanks for listening. Thanks for interacting on the interwebs. I know I'm kind of go dark for most of the week because it just works crazy. And then on a Friday or Saturday, I read Starman comic. I've read this 3 times this week. And then I talk about it, and I hope you're listening. I hope you're enjoying it. And as always, be safe, be smart. Please be kind to one another. And read some comics. Definitely read some Roger Stern Avengers. You'll thank yourself.